Reading STOL, this is Johnson, North Wales. This is the October-November 2019 build, the AN-74 Cola. The AN-74 was initially an upgrade of the AN-72 test aircraft intended to be used in the Arctic and Antarctica. It had the designation of AN-72A Arctic. The aircraft's main purpose is to deliver cargo, equipment and personnel over short and medium range routes in any climatic conditions from minus 60 to 45 degrees C, and at any latitude including the North Pole and high altitudes. It can operate to and from low-grade airstrips such as concrete, pebble ice and snow. Produced in tandem with the Antonov An-72, the An-74 can be fitted with a wheeled ski landing gear, de-icing equipment and other upgrades, allowing the aircraft to support operations in the Arctic or the Antarctic. An unusual design feature of the An-74, as well as the An-72, was the use of the Coandă effect to improve the STOL performance, utilizing engine exhaust gases blown over the wing's upper surface to boost lift. This power plant used is the Lotarev D-36 turbofan engine. The An-74 bears a resemblance to the Boeing YC-14, a prototype design of the early 70s, which used the overwing engines and the same Coandă effect. The rear fuselage of the aircraft has a hinged loading ramp with a rear fairing that slides backwards to clear the opening. The An-74 has a payload of 7.5 tons, including 10 passengers in the cargo variation and up to 52 seats in the all-passenger version. Operating ceiling is 10,000 meters and the cruising speed of 550 to 700 kilometers per hour. The aircraft may also be used for other highly specialized operations. It has a crew of 5, captain, first officer, navigator, flight engineer and loadmaster. So that's a basic summary of the type. I bought this kit in the 2018 Telford Model Show, and it was just one of those lucky finds from one of the trailers stands dealing in second-hand kits. The moulding shows its age with raised panel lines and some flash, even though this was I believe a 1980s or 1990s kit. The instructions actually aren't bad, and they seem to be a reasonable attempt at computer-generated graphics. And when you look at the kit, you do seem to feel that there's quite a lot going on there. Hatches, engine detail, reasonable cabin detail, and it does seem very much like a sort of a transition model to a modern kit. It did have rubber tyres and some silver parts for the engine. Now, I decided early on to get on with rescribing. I didn't like the raised panel lines, and so I put a pin in a needle vise and used the raised panel lines as a guide to work over the fuselage, which tends to be my usual method with this. The main thing with it is to maintain low pressure. Don't force it, just let your hand run gently with it. But even so, in a few places that did get a little bit messy. The wings, because I was able to use a ruler for it, worked out significantly easier to do. Again, using a pin for the most part, and in some cases also going over to the regular scribing tools. They worked out the easiest part to rescribe, with some challenges around the center section. So before the kit went together, I did spend quite a bit of time on this, and that added quite a lot to the building cycle. Now, getting on with the assembly, it began with the cabin, and the parts did need quite a lot of cleaning up and tidying up as well. So you also begin to realize fairly early on that there are alignment issues with this, and some things were, how can I say, less clear than one might have hoped. One thing that doesn't come out is that that undercarriage area doesn't align properly with the bays cut out in the fuselage. I decided to produce, at that stage, a full set of seats for this. So I used thin plastic card, and it was basically making up plastic card seats. Made one or two a prototype, and then when I was happy with it, sort of modelled that, marking out the card, cutting it to almost like create a small bank of pieces. I made the seats into both doubles and singles, because looking at the reference photos, there were both types. There were double seats down one side of the aircraft and single seats down the other, and also where the fuselage narrows slightly, or the available space for the seating narrows slightly, and that was all held together with the Tamiya extra thin. I did actually find, I was actually quite happy with this approach, and it's certainly a method I will be using again for making airliner seats. This certainly worked out as one of the better and easier methods of doing so. So you can watch here how that is being approached. And they do build up quite easily that way. I've really got to learn with my videos to find a way of not obscuring so much of my work with my hands. It's a great shot for looking at what's going on the back of my hands, but you create a small production line for churning these things out. And you can see there the completed sets with the doubles for forward of the wing, and the singles for under the wing, and painted up, also with a toilet section added as well. It comes out like that. The cockpit didn't present too many problems. I had to add some instrument panels, kept them blue because really not that much would be visible, and I used coins to add weight under the fuselage. That's it there. We assembly beginning, and immediately one thing that became very apparent was that this is one heck of a filler queen. I mean, this was a serious monster of a filler queen, with every joint needed work and rework. The engines, because I wanted to build them closed up, were a whole new realm of pain. The aircraft is designed to be built opened up, hatches and everything else, and the engine covers to be left on closed needed an awful lot of scraping, fitting and rework to achieve that. And I think that's the point with this kit. It's intended to be built with the radar dome, with the radar visible, with the loading ramp opened up, and all the features like that. If you want it closed up, you've got an awful lot of extra work, and I really felt part of it was it needed to be made less of a toy. So there it is with engines fitting. The engines fit pretty awfully, and I used super glue as the filler there. So once I'd done my first phase of filling, I took some Tamiya dark grey and hit it with that over all the join lines, because nothing really brings out what needs to be reworked like that. So that wasn't really a formal undercoat, but more of a joint assessment, and it showed me the areas where that would be needed to be reworked, and it invariably led to another quite considerable round of filling and rework, which you can see there. I've got to be honest, at that stage with the size of the model, positioning the camera was a bit difficult. The area under the tail, that needed filling and rework because that was a gap that just wasn't there. So once all that was done, you get to this, and I put on another dark grey coat just to confirm all that using the Tamiya paints. The masking first came a layer of white, and then I just masked the red and the grey, and moved on then onto the de-icing strips on the leading edge. The decals were a whole new world of pain. They just kept on disintegrating, coming apart, and that was a particularly long process. The stripe in particular gave me numerous issues, and it didn't even line up properly with the windows. So there it is, finished. I would also say with this build, I managed to lose one of the undercarriage legs. The carpet monster seemed to be particularly hungry, so one of the aft main undercarriage legs is an entire scratch build. Thankfully the wheels are quite chunky, so they for the most part hide that, but that's one of those cases of not looking too close. After the decals were on, I sealed everything up with Johnson's Future polish. Still going back to the issue of the decals, the stripes, all I can say is, features on that, I think I would have been better off spraying some of those markings, so the decals themselves have an awful lot of touching up. I decided not to do weathering as I just couldn't face too much more of it. So this is a challenging kit to say the least, but with some work builds up okay. Not sure if the rescribing and the seats were worth the effort, because I closed it up, hidden it, and hid all that. Now it's available as an Eastern Express kit. The original Toko kit is hard to get hold of these days. If you can find it, by all means get it, though there are many more AN-74s out there in 1/144 scale. If you want to build it up opened up, you will have a much easier time of it. Closing it up will require making it less of a toy and hiding the working features. So, well, sorry for taking so long to post this one. I was rather dreading doing this video. So, thank you for watching. Happy modelling. God bless. This is Chancellor North Wales signing out.